Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, October 10th. And while we are done with soybeans, officially as far as combining goes, there is still much to do with this harvest season. We are going to be shipping out the beans today, so we're waiting for the trucker to arrive. It's about 9 a.m. Trucker should be getting here, you said mid-morning, so that could be anywhere between now and 11, I suppose. And in the meantime, there are some other tasks to do and other things on the slate for today as well. We got Dad's newly painted casting and rim put back on the tractor the other night after supper right before dark. I told him after we were done that it looks like it's on the wrong tractor. I think Dad's caught the painting bug though. He was doing some painting on the cab of the 4020. Some of the hinge pins and stuff on that old Hinniker cab were froze up and needed to be disassembled, cleaned, greased, put back together. A couple things had broken, needed some spot welding. And in the process of doing that, which needed to be done, mechanically, he started painting on it. And next thing you know, he was going through a considerable amount of paint and time getting things cleaned up and refreshed. I had to give him a bit of a hard time about it because I'm kind of a perfectionist, and if it were up to me, I would get out the spray gun. He was brush painting stuff, and I was like, oh no. But actually, if you stand back a little bit, it looks really nice and everything's a lot brighter. And it'll certainly help to protect the metal, so any little bit of painting he can do is just fine with me. I was out checking on the goats, and it appears the trucker has arrived, and the beans are going out. And just like that, beans are done. Officially now. Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, October 11th today, and I'm coming to you from the combine cab here first thing this morning because it is extremely windy out. It's going to be 80 degrees today, and of course the wind is whipping because there's a weather system moving through here. We're going to have a big transition, maybe a little bit of rain after dark tonight, and then temperatures are going to drop considerably after that. So it's going to be a wild whipping kind of day out there. The plans today are to get the combine starting to switch over to corn. We moisture tested the corn, and in our big 18-acre field, in some of the low spots, which retain moisture better than the rest of this farm, the corn was at 21%, but on the headlands and the high ground and the field out by County Road 8, which is a much drier, more kind of heavy clay field, there we were at 16%. Sometimes into the high 15s. For a wildlife feed, having it in the mid 15s, even low 16s, is totally fine. It's only that I do burn some of it in a corn burner, and in that case I want it to be 15% or below. 14 is really ideal for that, but I might be getting a little greedy. I can always mix it with some wood pellets too, which is another way of kind of cheating the moisture level down for burning it in a corn burner. So that's just for my own house at home. I do sometimes have customers ask to buy it for corn burners, but usually I can't beat the price that they can get it from somewhere else in bulk. So not a whole lot of my sales are for corn burning people. Oh, and last but not least, the 4020 is getting new rear tires today and a new rear rim. One of the rims was rusted out from the chloride ballast that was in there. The other one had rusted out years ago, and we had a new rim put on. So now we're having the other one replaced, and we picked up a couple of brand new Firestone 18434 rear tires for that tractor. One rear tire was real bad, the other one was just so-so. So I think the one that was real bad we're going to get rid of, and the other one we're going to turn into a dual tire, which is a good use for a half worn out tire. then around on the other side here, simultaneously getting the other new tire onto the new rim that's going to replace this rusted out rim. So, got a lot going on. New tire mounted and the bead set on this side, so he's pumping in, or he's going to pump in bead juice for ballast. These tires, both sides on this tractor had the calcium chloride ballast in them, and that's what kept rotting out our rims. So we decided to go with the beet juice this time around, which is a little more expensive, but it shouldn't cause the corrosion that the chloride did. Well, after much struggle, I think maybe is the way to put it, it took most of the afternoon. The tire guy is all done here, and the 4020's got new shoes on. This side was the easier side because it had a decent rim and only the tire needed to be changed, so he didn't have to work too hard at this. And then one of these tires, I believe it was this one, was the better one. We had him put that on a dual rim. And then our other side here was a little bit more of a struggle because the bolts that hold the clamps on around the perimeter here, the nuts came off real easy, but easier than we suspected. But then the bolts themselves, we had to heat them up and just wail on them to get them out. But I'll tell you what, guys, those tires were needed for a long time. That the one on the driver's side there especially was really worn out. So having new shoes on the 4020 is going to be a big deal. We shouldn't need new tires on this tractor for a long time, especially because we don't use it as heavily as we used to anymore. But because we found this complete set of new tires, it made sense to get them both, have one service trip to get the whole thing done, and now we don't have to think about it again. Now, in between working on the 4020 and doing a few other odds and ends around here, I've been messing with the combine and getting it switched over for corn, or starting to anyway. I opened up all my feeder house doors here, and my feeder house chain was a bit slack, so we had to get that tightened up. I should say I had to get that tightened up. I have a habit of saying we when what I mean is me. But then the other thing that needed to be done is to raise the feeder house drum so that the clearance from the feeder house floor pan and the chain paddles is raised up for I suppose the cobs of corn going through, which are considerably larger than straw or bean plant material or whatever. So there's kind of a deal here where you got to loosen this nut up, and then the bolt has been ground to have some flat sides on it, and then you rotate that bolt, and there's a cam in there, and it adjusts the drum and raises it up, which in theory seems fairly simple. And on the other side it is fairly simple, but on this side, naturally they put that bolt right behind that tensioner pulley, and there's not a lot of clearance there. So I've got the nut loosened up and I've got the cam turned partway around, but the wrench I was using was too big, and so now I need to scrounge up something that'll get it to turn. Alright, I got her. I snuck a little 3/8 wrench in there which fit perfectly on the flats and was able to turn that cam and get it adjusted around, so that raises the feeder house chain up so that there's more clearance for cobs to go in. And then the interesting thing that I discovered, so normally when switching to corn, the manual says to put this chain, which actually is what drives the feeder house chain in there, says to adjust it to the smaller sprocket, which would slow down the feeder house. Well, it was already on that sprocket. So, and the previous owners only used this combine for grain. So they must have had it slowed down all those years, never had it on the correct sprocket. Maybe they did that for a reason, I don't know, but It's in the right place already, so I'm gonna leave that. So the last thing I have to figure out before I can, you know, mount the header and then start adjusting the actual combine, just the regular combine settings, cylinder speed, concave spacing, chaffer, sieves, all that good stuff, is this variable speed drive. This has been set in one position for 20 some years, and I don't even know if it works. So I'm gonna have to hook up the hydraulic lines, run the combine real slow, and adjust the hydraulic levers, and just see if the sheaves will work and if it'll actually change speed. So that's my next task. Alright, well, I think the time has come to start this thing up and check these sheaves, see if this is going to cooperate. If it doesn't, it might be a big mess. It'll be a surprise. We'll find out. Fingers crossed it all works good. Well, folks, I am amazed. This all seems to work exactly the way it's supposed to. So you can see here, see the rusty bits there? Those are the sliders. It's kind of hard to describe, but there's angled sliders in there that they squeeze this sheave to tighten it up and make the pulley diameter, you know, larger, or make the belt, you know, travel larger. And then simultaneously, those same sliders are on this end. They slide in and they allow this pulley to widen out, effectively making the diameter smaller. And so then that speeds everything up. And I don't think those things have been moved for, who knows how long. But it did exactly what it was supposed to do. And the sheaves moved, and the tensioner worked. Everything seems fine. So now it's going at its fastest speed. And I cleaned everything out, any grime and gunk that got dislodged by moving it. So now I'm going to slow it back down again, and then probably shut it down. But that's about it now. I just have to make my adjustments to the combine for the corn settings. You guys have to remember, this is all new to me. We've never combined corn with the 55 or with the 4400, so I'm proceeding with kind of maximum caution until I get my bearings on all this stuff, and kind of get a handle on how it all works. And then, you know, after that it'll all be second nature. But it's just mechanics. It's not that complicated, but at the same time, it's new. Well, folks, we're just about wrapped up here for the day. Spent a lot more time working on those 40/20 tires than I anticipated, but did get this, at least the feeder house assembly, figured out here, and make sure that we're going to be ready for trying it out with some corn, get the corn head on it. And I climbed up in the grain tank and vacuumed out the soybeans that were left, and we had supper in there too. So now it's time to wrap it up for the day. So I'm going to get this thing closed up, close all the hatches, and then put it on a hill, because we're supposed to get a little bit of rain tonight. So if it's got to sit out, we want the rain to run out of the grain tank. So that's going to be it for today. Hey everyone, Wednesday, October 12th here. I'm going to give you just a real quick rundown. It's been kind of an uneventful morning, but we did a couple of little things. After going through the feeder house and making sure that the variable speed drive assembly worked and everything last night, this morning I came out. I was going to run to Mankato, but I didn't get to the farm in quite enough time, so I'm going to go after lunch. So I decided I'd quick scoop up the corn header and get that on the machine. So basically that's what I've done. I changed the concave spacing, checked the chaffers and sieves. I still need to set the cylinder speed, but I scooped up the corn head, hooked up the shafts, and then it had these goofy, well, you can see them in the back there, these pieces of plywood. Somebody had bolted them to the outside snoots here, as I suppose a way to help pick up down corn or something. We don't need them. We rarely deal with down corn. We'll hang on to those and put them back on if we need to, but I don't think they'll ever come back out of storage. They'll probably get cut up for scrap wood or something. So anyway, not much left to do. Just basically, like I said, set the cylinder speed. We're going to add some corn head grease in the gearboxes. I got to test run this, of course, and make sure that it runs. But we picked it up with the forklift a couple of weeks ago and turned all the shafts, got everything freed up, oiled the chains, you know, made sure that it was all going to turn before we put it on the machine. So safety first, you know, you got to put that pipe wrench on there and give it a crank and make sure that it's free before you just hook it up to something. So that's really about it for the morning. That head looks too big for that 4400. It's probably a good thing the corn yields are a little low. We won't overtax this little machine. Other than that, Dad's been scooting around the farmyard here. He brought the stock chopper up because there are a couple of knives I think that need to be replaced on there and some basic maintenance on that. And since we're kind of waiting now at this point, and I'm working on that machine, that'll be my primary goal after I get back from Mankato. He's going to work on this, and the picker's already ready to go because we did some maintenance on that this summer. So we're really actually sitting pretty good as far as preparation. And of course the 4020's got its new shoes. Can't stop looking at them. Well, that's a good sign. First time this has been run in who knows how many years. This head came with the combine, but it actually came from a different farm than the combine came from. The previous owners of our 4400 bought a 6620 from the neighbor, and that machine came with this corn head, and they don't grow corn, so they sold this corn head to us with that machine. But I think the neighbor they bought the 6620 from hadn't farmed in a long time. I don't know, looks pretty acceptable to me. Well, hey guys, it's me from the present. Look, here's the deal. I'm gonna level with you. I ran out of clips for this video. It would have come to a very abrupt ending because the next clips that I have, chronologically, are gonna make up the start of the next video. So, rather than just leave you with a kind of falling off the cliff ending, I thought I'd step in here quick and say, for those of you who are still with me at the end here, I appreciate you tuning in. It's been a lot of fun here putting some of these videos together from this past fall. So thanks for sticking with me. And I got more stuff coming up. I've got a number of little tools and gizmos that I got here to help me get my workflow a little bit more organized. So I'm going to be getting a lot of the fall harvest videos up really quick, one after another. I've actually got a few already edited and ready to go. So stay tuned, and we will see you again really soon. All right, guys, take care.